I feel like I just have to start, otherwise it's never gonna happen. Let's hope that no jets come by and nobody starts doing their yard and this girl doesn't need to go to the bathroom for the third time, so we can get through this, because we just need to get through this. Hello, friends. Friends of the internet, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jessa, and on my channel I share a lot of fashion, motherhood, and lifestyle videos, a lot of like cozy reading vlogs, which I hope to be getting back into. So if that's something that interests you, please consider staying, watching this video, and also subscribing at the end if you so choose. So today's video is going to be a monthly reset. I personally love watching monthly reset videos, even weekly reset videos. I think there's just something really cathartic about it, where you feel like you're starting over. You get this new clean slate to kind of just plan out what you need to plan out and reset your goals and kind of reevaluate what you've been doing so far and how you can like improve yourself. So you're constantly improving yourself throughout the year, as opposed to just like a New Year's resolution where you're listing out all the things you want to do for the year and then like end up never doing them. I feel like monthly resets, even weekly resets, they really help you be accountable for any goals or intentions that you have, or any like big long to-do lists and priorities that you have. I feel like it keeps you a little bit more productive. I've never done a monthly reset video before, so this is going to be my very first one, and hopefully, like I said, it will help keep me accountable for all of my to-dos this month, as well as like goals and intentions that I have. I am in my third trimester now, so there's a lot of things that I have that need to get done in order to prepare before the baby comes, and I feel like this is a good time for me to get a monthly reset in. So out of breath, constantly out of breath. Anyway, so let's dive in. Part one, I'm gonna do a little April recap, even though, like I said, I've never done a monthly reset before, so I don't have any previous lists of what I had intended for April, but I'll just go over like some of the key points of what I'm bringing into May, and then reflect of how I did in April. So the first part is books. I had kind of like a slow book month this time around. At the end of March and coming into the first 2 days of April, I was reading Cold Clay by Juno Black, which is part of the Shady Hollow series. It's the second book within the series, and absolutely love that book. I started it the last 2 days of March and then finished it on like April 2nd or something like that. Really loved it. I mean, it's definitely a 5-star series for me. It's just something that feels super comfy and cozy, and I guess you would kind of consider it a little bit slow paced, but because it's a murder mystery, there is more interest than you would think. I do plan on getting the next 2 books, but I have so many other books that I need to read first before I can justify buying new books again. So I'm gonna hold off on buying the next 2 books just to kind of work my way through my physical TBR, and then I feel like, okay, I can go ahead and finish off the rest of the series. There is another book that is being released within the series in July, so I probably don't think I'm going to be able to get to it before the 5th book comes out, but I am going to try. And they also have 2 books in the series that are like little short stories that are holiday themed. There's like a Christmas one and a Halloween one, and if you have Kindle Unlimited, they're free because it's only available as an ebook. I don't currently have Kindle Unlimited, but I believe you can also buy it online from like the website, from the author's website, for like $3 or something like that. But again, they're holiday ones, so I feel like, oh, I think I'm gonna wait to read them until it's around those specific seasons. And then in the month of April, I borrowed 2 books from the library. I borrowed Magnolia Parks as well as Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I tried to start Magnolia Parks on the plane ride to Hawaii, and I just couldn't get into it. I read like literally 2 pages. So I didn't really give it enough of a chance, but it was really hard to read on the plane. I was just getting too distracted. And then by the time we came back from Hawaii, I only had like a week to read both of the books, and I just kind of felt this like pressure to try and finish them before I had to return them. And it just like wasn't working for me. I did start Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I got to page like 94 and I was enjoying it. It is one of those like slower paced books again, but I just like didn't want to force myself. I think what I've noticed about me personally when I'm reading library books, I really want to have the time to read them. And so if I'm checking out like multiple books at a time, it puts a lot of pressure on me. Even the 2. I think if I was really, really psyched to read them, which Emily Wilde I was, Magnolia Parks I wasn't as convinced, and I think that's why I kind of hesitated a little bit. But I feel like when I have multiple books that are checked out from the library, I put too much pressure on myself to read them within the time limit, and then it's not fun anymore. So we're not gonna do that. And so basically I returned both of those books. I did not finish them. I barely even started them. I don't even wanna call them DNFs because I just feel like I didn't even like give them the proper love and attention that they deserved. So I will come back to them at another time, just like not right now. It's not the time to read those books for me at this moment. And then I actually finished an audiobook this month, which is pretty much like the only full book that I read. I don't know. You tell me if you consider audiobooks to be like books that you read, but pretty much this book was the only book that I actually like finished start to finish in the month of April, and that book was Practice Makes Perfect. I haven't read When in Rome yet though. I haven't like listened to it on an audiobook and I haven't read it physically, but they are standalones. They're technically standalones and you can read them on their own. However, I didn't realize until afterwards that When in Rome is kind of like the first installment of the duology, if you want to call it a duology, if that's what it's called, considering that they follow the same characters, or they follow characters that were in the previous story into the next one, which I really enjoy about books sometimes. Like I love seeing side characters become the main characters. Practice Makes Perfect was exactly what I needed. I feel like because I was in this like book slump of not really finishing a book, not really feeling like excited about like reading, Practice Makes Perfect was like a good way to get back into wanting to read again, especially because it's like a romance, and like romance books are really what got me started in reading more frequently. I feel like if I have multiple romance books on my TBR, I go through those books a lot quicker because they're just more fast paced, there's way more dialogue, and it's just like fun and like just a fun little giggly book. And that's exactly what this book was. I was literally like laughing, giggling out loud while I was listening to it. So now I want to read When in Rome, but I think I might just listen to it on an audiobook, so we'll see. I wouldn't say it was like my favorite rom-com book, but it was a pretty average rom-com book. I would say like 3.75 is like what I would give it. And I also think sometimes listening to an audiobook, I feel like might lower my ratings a little bit, just because there are times when I'm listening to the audiobook and I'm not fully paying attention and grasping the story. And so I think there's like certain things that I'm like missing when I'm like physically reading a book as opposed to just listening to it. Because unless my full attention is on it, like I'm literally doing nothing else other than reading this or listening to an audiobook, I'm gonna get distracted and I'm gonna like do other things and then have to like go back, listen to the last like 2 minutes again just to like grasp what was going on. So I wouldn't say that my ratings for audiobooks are completely fair in comparison to like reading a physical book, if that makes any sense. But let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to know if you feel like you rate them fairly when you listen to an audiobook as opposed to a physical. Okay, so those are all of the books that I've read in the month of April. Next, we're gonna talk about fitness. So if you've watched my other videos, you know I went to Hawaii in the beginning of April. In order to make sure we didn't get sick for this trip, we hadn't been to the gym the whole month of March and pretty much the whole month of February, because in the beginning of February, Ellie got sick. And also in the beginning of January, Ellie got sick. So like first week of January, Ellie was sick. First week of February, Ellie was sick. And so we hadn't been going to the gym consistently for a really long time. We finally came back from Hawaii and got back onto a regular schedule, but we honestly only were going, I had only scheduled kid care for like 2 times a week. And on one of the weeks, they had called and were like, oh, kid care's flooded, so we have to cancel it. So the week before last week, I think that was the week before last week actually, we only went the one time. Last week we went twice. We did go to the gym today, so we literally only went to the gym like 5 times this month. And I think, what is it? Normally we would go to the gym like 3 days a week. Me and Ellie were going like Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we would go on Saturdays as a family together. So I'm definitely out of shape. I'm no longer running on the treadmill. I'm only walking and maybe doing like 40 minutes, and then the rest of the hour I'm doing stretching. Let's do a little bit of a pregnancy recap. I turned 30 weeks as of yesterday, and I'm now in my 3rd trimester. I have 10 weeks to go, which is insane. Before we left for Hawaii, I had a doctor's appointment, and it was my glucose test. Thankfully, I don't have gestational diabetes. I passed that test, which is great, because with Ellie, I didn't pass it the first time. I had to take the 3-hour one, which sucked. But this time I passed. The only thing that they came back with was that I am anemic, which my doctor and I had previously talked about, because I was telling her that there were times when I would be sitting down and I would get kind of like lightheaded. And so she was saying that there is a possibility that I could be anemic, but she was like, we'll check that when we do your glucose test. And it turns out I'm anemic, which is not something that happened with Ellie. So it's definitely different. Pretty much the only difference now is that I'm just taking iron supplements. Let me know if you have ever experienced anemia during pregnancy and like how that went for you. If you feel like it went well, or if you had complications, like I'm very curious to know. I didn't want to look it up too much because I didn't want to freak myself out, but I am interested to know kind of like a more like personal story. So if you have experienced it, leave a comment down below and let me know if there's anything that I should be doing in order to combat it a little bit more, other than taking my iron pills. Some other pregnancy symptoms that I have been having recently are leg cramps, especially in the morning. I usually will like stretch in bed, just kind of like do like a nice like elongating stretch. I can't do that anymore. No, it's a no for me, because it instantly will give me a Charlie horse. And also even in my like, in the arch of my foot sometimes, like if I try to like stretch and like point my toes, the arch of my foot will just like really cramp up, and it's so painful, it's the worst. So that's been fun. So I've had a lot of leg cramps, a lot of shortness of breath, and actually there was a moment before my last appointment where the whole day I was feeling that shortness of breath, like honestly feeling like I needed like an oxygen tank. Like I just couldn't get a nice deep breath in. My husband had suggested to like go on all fours and like lean up against the table just to kind of give my chest some space, to give my lungs some space, and that did actually help a little bit more. And it was worrying because honestly, I'm always out of breath right now, especially we have a 2-story house and I have a toddler, so I'm like chasing her around constantly. So it's no surprise that within pregnancy I have shortness of breath, but that particular day, it was the whole day, even when I was sitting down, and there was just like no relief. And then the next day though, I felt so much better, and I wasn't having that shortness of breath that I was having the day before. But I did mention it to my doctor because it just seemed kind of weird. And so she was saying, you know, if it happens again, to let them know. if it happens like longer than the day. So I haven't had that experience again. Hopefully it was just like a one-time thing, but we'll see. I am feeling him move a lot. He's moving so much, especially at nighttime, especially when I'm trying to sleep. And I'm getting up to pee at least 3 times in the middle of the night, at least. Even if I go to the bathroom just before I lay down, I have to pee again. And I won't even like drink that much water, or sometimes like I won't even drink water at all. And then the next morning, I'll have a full bladder again. And it's so strange. Pregnancy's weird, but the kid is on my bladder. We have confirmed. My last appointment, the doctor was like, yeah, he's like sitting right there on your bladder. And I was like, no wonder, because I have to pee constantly. I am having a lot of cravings for pastries though. If you're a Costco member, go and grab those croissant loaves. Not the croissants. Well, get the croissants too. The croissants are good too. But they have like the actual croissant loaf. Like it's a loaf of bread, but it's croissant bread. It's so good. It's the best. And then there's a bakery that's over by Ellie's dance class that I've been visiting a couple of times, and they just have like the best scones and these like morning buns and these other things that I don't remember what they're called, but I'll put like a picture here of what they are. They're really good. Cinnabuns, I will eat all 5 Cinnabuns that come in the roll that you break up, that go poof, and then you put them in the oven. I'll eat all 5 of those. No problem. No problem at all. And then yesterday, I tortured myself, me and my husband, and we just watched videos of people making cinnamon rolls from scratch. And now we think that we're chefs and that we're gonna make those. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I definitely have a very big sweet tooth right now, which I didn't have with Ellie. It's like another craving that is like different. So that's my April recap. There's pretty much nothing else to talk about in April other than went to Hawaii, had a great time. I did vlog a little bit of it, so if you're interested in watching that vlog, I'll leave it in the cards so that you can go back and watch that vlog and see what it was about. Now let's get into part 2, which is gonna be my monthly to-dos. Like I said, I am now in my 3rd trimester. I have 10 weeks left. Hopefully it's not more than 10 weeks, but now that I am in my 3rd trimester, there's a lot of things that I need to get done before the baby comes. So these are all the things that are on my list. First thing that I need to do is I need to clean my car. Before we left for Hawaii, I did clean Ellie's car seat, which I'm really happy I got around to doing because it was filthy. She's gross. She eats a lot of snacks in the car, and there was just endless amounts of crumbs. So it needed to get completely cleaned. So I took all the cushions off, I washed it. I took all the crumbs off the base and vacuumed it up and wiped it down, and now it's somewhat at a clean state again, but the actual car itself is a wreck and I need to clean that before the baby comes for sure. Like, I haven't gotten a car wash in a really long time, and I have officially paid off my car in the month of April, so I own my car, which is cool. I'm very excited about that. But now I'm getting like hit with ads from every single car company trying to get me to buy a new car. And I'm like, no, not doing it. I own my car now and I'm gonna make this last forever. Second thing on my to-do list is to clean out my closet. I've already packed away all of like my winter sweaters and some of my winter pants, but I still need to take out some spring, summer items. Again, at this moment in time, there's not very much that I have that fits me. All I took out were like dresses that I knew were gonna fit me, but I also kind of want to go through them and pick out the things that I know like I'm really not gonna go back to them. I'm really not gonna wear them again, and see if I could either list them on Poshmark and sell them there, or there's also a couple of consignment stores within my area that you can go and like rent a booth and then like sell for consignment. So I might try that out just because I've had a couple of things on my Poshmark listed for a while and they've just been sitting there and I would really like to get rid of them. So I'd like to go through both Ellie's closet and my closet and see if I could maybe rent a consignment booth at one of these places and see if I can actually like get rid of some things. Another thing that I need to do this month is pack my hospital bag, although I think this is something that's going to be put off until like the later end of the month, just because my baby shower is not happening until June 1st. So that's why I think I'm gonna save packing my hospital bag for like that week. And then whatever I don't receive off of my registry, I will just go ahead and purchase it myself. I have a lot of things for my hospital bag already. I have his going home outfit. It's gonna be the same outfit that like Ellie went home in. My pillow, my robe, my slippers, and like toiletries and all that. They say like not even to bring diapers because they'll give you diapers at the hospital. Like all of those kinds of things that you would need for the baby, like they kind of already have taken care of. But there's just a couple of things that I wanna see if I'll get them and like bring them to the hospital, like silverettes. I put silverettes on my registry, and I'm hoping that I can get those in, because with Ellie I definitely had a hard time breastfeeding. I just want to be a little bit more prepared this time around. But yeah, for the most part I have everything that I need in order to pack a hospital bag, but again, I'm just gonna wait until the very, very end, just in case. And then the last thing that I have on my to-do list is to plan our freezer meals. I don't want to start cooking freezer meals just yet because, again, we still have like all of June, and I would rather cook it then and freeze them then in June. But I would like to make a plan for myself this month just to know what I need to buy in terms of ingredients, and also make sure that the freezer is like completely cleaned out, or not completely, but as cleaned out as possible, so that I can make room for all of the freezer meals that I am planning to prepare. Let me know if you want a separate video on that too, if you want to see what meals I'm trying to prepare in the month of June for postpartum. This time around with my pregnancy, I'm planning to prepare a little bit better for successful breastfeeding. So I want to make sure that I'm like having a really good diet that is supporting like my calorie intake and like my milk production. So there's a couple of like lactation cookie recipes that I want to try out. And also, you know, they say, the internet says that within the first couple of weeks, you really want to make sure you're eating very like warm, nutrient dense meals like soups and stews. So I feel like a lot of my recipes, a lot of my freezer meals are going to be in the soup stew category, even though it's going to be July and it's going to be so freaking hot. But we're going to try our best to make sure that the breastfeeding is successful and of abundance. I'm not going to stress myself out though about it. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I mean, my boobies are really small to begin with. And I know that they say that doesn't matter, but I think it does. In my head, it makes sense that it would, because if your boobs are smaller, there's less milk that can be in them, that can be stored in them, than when your boobs are bigger. And I just feel like the girls are small. Even though they've gotten bigger since I've become pregnant, they're still considered little bitty babies. Part 3. These are my May intentions / goals. Every time I say goals, I always get a little bit nervous calling them goals, because if I don't meet them, I'm like, oh no, I didn't reach my goal. So that's why I feel like sometimes I want to call them intentions, like, you know, putting it out there, trying to manifest it more, as opposed to like setting it up as like this really high intensity goal that I need to reach. It's like, no pressure. I'm not trying to pressure myself. We're chill, you know what I mean? So I mentioned that I haven't been going to the gym lately, and now we're getting back on like a regular schedule, in conjunction with the regular schedule of going twice a week, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays with Ellie. I am also going to be adding in going to yoga on Fridays. I used to go to yoga all the time. Last year I was going every Friday. It used to be from 11 to 12, and now it's at 12:15 to 1:15. And the problem that I have with that is just that kid care is closed from 12 to 4. So that means I am not able to take Ellie with me when I go to yoga, but it's fine. Matt works from home, so he is able to watch her. Next on my list is a goal that I have mainly to benefit Ellie. Since we've kind of been not going to the gym, and I also wasn't really taking her to story time or play and learn at the library. So this month I really want to start taking her more regularly, like on a full schedule, so that she has something to look forward to every week as well. So I'm going to try and implement doing more story time and or play and learn at least once a week. The library that's closest to us does story times on Wednesday, and then they do play and learn on Fridays. I just want her to get a little bit more time socializing with other kids. My next intention / goal for the week, or for the month, is I'm kind of switching up my goals regarding books. So before, I was wanting to read at least 100 pages Monday through Friday. I will say it helps in terms of keeping a good pace for yourself. I didn't feel like I was reading too much, and I didn't feel like I was not reading enough. It was a good medium for me. However, I have been finding that reading at night hasn't been treating me well, because I'm just really fatigued all the time. Instead of trying to read 100 pages a day, I just want to complete one book a week. And that way, I think, let's say on average, I think most of the books that I read are around the 300 range, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but mostly they're in that 300 range. So if I broke that up into the 5 days, Monday through Friday, not counting the weekends, then that means I only really need to read 60 pages a day. And that seems more doable, and I'll have a better success in terms of completing a book and not putting so much pressure on myself to read so much as well. You know what I mean? I feel like if I still have to read and I haven't read all day, but I have 2 hours at night to read, I feel like I'll be able to read the 60 pages no problem. We're getting to the last goal of the month. On Sunday, I took a workshop class with my mother-in-law in Salt Lake. We did a glass fusing class. It was hosted at Atelier in Salt Lake, which is a wonderful store. If you've never been, it's a really great shop to go and support local artists, and also just smaller indie brands. Beautiful curation, but every once in a while she hosts workshops there, and she had this woman named Shelby come in, and she has her own stained glass business. She had a workshop on Sunday for fused glass, which is kind of I feel more of a beginner friendly type of style, or it's more beginner friendly in that medium. Basically, we just learned to cut glass and kind of mosaic them in to whatever design we wanted, and they are now being turned into night lights. So I'll get to go and pick them up this next Sunday that's coming up. I just did a little sunburst kind of design for the baby's room, and it kind of matches the theme of the baby shower as well. But it was super fun. I've never worked with glass before, and it was just really fun to get out and be around other people who also have the same level of skill set, where none of us have done this before, or I think there was a couple of people who had done it before, but the majority of us had never crafted with glass before. And so it was our first time using those different tools and just kind of playing around with doing a mosaic design. My mother-in-law was very unsure about it. I could tell that she was super apprehensive to do the class, but at the end she said she had a really great time and it was fun, and she was saying that it inspired her to want to take ceramics class. And I was yeah, you definitely should. It's really important for myself. Maybe it's important for you too, but as someone who was a former corporate women's designer who was in a setting where I was designing every day and working with creative people every day, and now being a stay-at-home mom, I have this completely different lifestyle. So for me, I feel it's so important for me to still kind of incorporate as much creativity within my lifestyle as much as I can. Whether it is through a workshop like that, where I'm doing something completely new and super foreign to me, or if it's something that I'm already comfortable with, like sewing. I've been sewing since I was in high school. I haven't sewed anything in a really long time, but recently I did cut out some fabric for some dresses that I want to make. They're already ready to go, like ready to be sewn up. I just need to sew them. All that to say that this month I really want to ensure that I'm trying to like make something, if not every day, like every other day, or like once a week, or like working on something, even if it's just like 10 minutes out of my day, like sewing up one seam here or two seams there. I think it's just really important to try and infuse some element of creativity into my day to really keep me inspired. I'm gonna try to do it every day just to really like flex that creative muscle. But if I can at least just do like 10 minutes, like 10 minutes out of my day is nothing. Like I can definitely find 10 minutes out of my day here and there to do something creative for myself. So the last part of this very, very long monthly reset is going to be on content creation. I don't really want to look too much in terms of like numbers because they're low. I'm new here, so of course all the numbers are very, very low. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me here. And if you want to follow me on TikTok, you can follow me here. And then obviously you're here on YouTube right now. So if you want to be a peach, go ahead, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, support your girl, because we all like supporting each other around here. All of my goals for content creation don't revolve around like hitting a certain number, because at this point right now, I'm just trying to focus on actually just getting some content out. So the first thing that I want to start doing is implementing more of like an actual schedule for myself that I can follow, something very realistic. I'm not someone who can vlog every day. I'm not someone who can just whip out their camera. I'm way too emotional and I need to be more prepared in terms of setting up my camera for a video. So for me, the goal that I am intending is that I film 1 week and then the next week I'll have to edit. Film the next week and then edit again. So that way it's more of like an even flow. I just need to be working a little smarter and not as hard. So with this new schedule, I feel like give myself a little bit more grace and time in order to complete all the tasks that I want to complete. Again, without putting so much pressure on myself, without having like this like really big deadline that's so close. Hopefully with this new schedule, it means that I will be coming out with bi-weekly videos. It'll just kind of like get me into the practice of doing that kind of rhythm. And then if I feel like I can pull out more videos and have more energy to like edit more and film more, that's when I'll be able to create more content. So we'll see how that schedule works. I'm gonna start slow with this and then build off of it as we progress. Another thing that I want to implement this month for content creation is I really want to take advantage of doing batch days. I have so many ideas, and then like I said, I'm kind of an emotional person, so if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to post that day. But if I have days that I'm like setting aside for just filming all the content that I could possibly film, then I'll have stuff ready to post every single day. I feel like I want to put the goal for myself to post every single day on short form content. However, I feel like that is very ambitious. And so before I take that super ambitious leap to post every single day, I'd rather set myself up for success and say, okay, let me implement this schedule of having these batch content days where I can film all of the different ideas that I have and then have them on the back burner ready to go for when I'm ready to post them all. So that way I'm not like stressing out in terms of like, oh no, it's not a sunny day, it's not a good time to film. It's like, no problem, I already have stuff ready to go that I can post. That's how I'm kind of like trying to set up myself for success. As opposed to looking at numbers, I just want to implement a schedule and just trying to be consistent with the actual creation part and not worry too much about the posting part. The posting will come once all the stuff is created. Another thing that I want to do is start engaging more with people. So I feel like with content creation, a lot of people say if you really want to grow, you want to make sure that you're being consistent, you know, on a certain schedule, and then also engaging with your community. I occasionally will post a comment on people. I definitely like videos like all the time, especially on YouTube. TikTok occasionally, but I feel like I want to be more supportive within the community, in the social space, amongst people that I have similar interests to and I feel like deserve a bigger audience. And so I feel like I really want to make sure that I'm spending some time to really engage with videos that I connect with, that I can relate to, that I have something to say and like add to or just kind of compliment on. I want to make sure that I'm showing my support for other people who are also on this same like content creation journey. There are a lot of accounts across all of the platforms that you can tell are really putting in a lot of work in terms of like their editing and their like creative direction. Like people are super creative. I think there's a lot of people on social media who become very viral for, you know, just like shooting the shit. And people are really entertaining. People are so funny, and I definitely think, you know, that's a talent in itself as well. But I definitely think there is this group of people who are in this digital space and really super creative and very inspiring, and I feel like I want to make sure that I'm supporting them. I think it's one of the reasons why I follow a lot of artists on YouTube. I just feel like their editing style is so unique to them. I've been loving seeing all of like the more like doodle and scrapbook style carousels on Instagram. I think they're super fun. Those are all of my goals and intentions and the to-dos that I have for May. I hope that I'll be able to get through them all. Like I said, I'm trying to focus more on like setting myself up for success with certain schedules as opposed to like focusing on like numbers right now. What I want to do is make sure that I'm being as productive as possible and building off of it. That is the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to share some of your monthly intentions and goals, please leave a comment down below. I'm very interested to know if your goals are similar to mine. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.